owners to have the public be re-invited back to the site to be able to help provide an innovative space for folks to be able to have an opportunity to connect with each other during a variety of different special events and activities, and also be able to have the event space be able to be utilized for those that are looking for, kind of private events on the site with Spiegel Tent, be it concerts and other public venues. So our goal tonight, again, is to update you. I'll let the two of them talk a little bit more about our joint vision. And the Corporation Counsel's Office has prepared a draft lease, as we're proposing to be 3 years to be able to lease this summer with Bob and Spiegel Tent Productions to be able to have Spiegel Tent appear back on site in June, if possible, and be able to have a very similar relationship to what the city did and this council did with Bob a few years ago in a very successful attempt, I think, to try. But we really wanted to broaden the concept and really be able to create this mixed-use space, and we feel like this is a good use of the space. It's forward-looking, and it also still allows for us to continue to look for that larger monetary investment. So if it's okay with you guys can continue on.
Do you want to quickly talk about the public space?
Well, maybe I'll just mention briefly. The concept for a public space was something that I'm part of the Arts District group that's trying to get something of that nature developed in Midtown. And one of the thoughts that we had very early on was to create a public place that would be a great location in terms of visibility and in terms of relationship to the whole district, because this is very much the center of the district. And where a tremendous variety of activities could occur. Cultural activities, but obviously a variety of activities can be imagined for the site. And at that point, we got in touch with Bob to see if he would be interested in, once again, coming back with the Spiegel Tent. And which, unfortunately, he indicated interest in that. And we have been speaking with the mayors, from the beginning about this idea, and it looks like it's something that has some feasibility. So we're very happy to be able to get your input into that.
And my intention and desire to come back in this space is what it was originally, which is it's right there in the middle of Kingston. And I feel the community is already alive and vibrant. It just needs a little addition. It needs people to recognize that for what it is. There's already businesses thriving in that area. And when Ray approached me about the Arts District, I thought now's the perfect time to try to see if now's the time to do this again. What I've proposed is the ability to set up, certainly in year one, not a full 90-foot Spiegel tent like Bard has, but it'll be an interior similar. There's some pictures. I think I can send more for as an event space. As I've said, I'm not looking to be another Anchor or another Keegan's. I want to be part of the public space. So when there are events, I would have exclusive use of the entire property to run that event. When there are not events, the space in front of the tent is public space. It's actually always public space, just that I can reserve the use for events. I have asked for a 3-year lease, in large part because I think it will take at least a couple years for it to be financial value to me on a selfish note, and to actually develop the space up to people using it regularly for the community. I think I have all the details in our meetings. What I've asked for is a lease to see what is necessary for the city. It's got I've put a lot of my points in, then we can go back and forth on what the final issues are. But I would love to see it as public space. It would be available for use by not-for-profits, for-profits, kid shows, art exhibits. I really would then look back to, once the lease is approved, look back to the Arts District for how do we want to move forward with the use of the space.
Questions? Aaron?
3-year lease, and how much is the lease per year? Like how,
I've asked for $1 a month lease.
and you'll do the maintenance as well? You'll maintain the
Maintain the,
area?
yes, yeah.
So DPW would be involved?
Oh, this is the whole thing. Well, that part of what our discussion was, can DTW start the process of preparing it? If not, then I will go to look for sponsors to take that over. So that can be part of the negotiation. If it goes that direction, then yes.
Yeah, our goal is to create that multi-purpose space. I do believe it's important to create that opportunity for our Midtown residents to have a community space. I think it can be done very inexpensively, and with DPW's help to help clean up the parking lot, which also benefits all of those from UPAC that park there, which still would be able to happen under this arrangement, but it really just needs to be cleaned up, swept up, lines painted, some relatively trivial expenses that really will not only improve the visitor's experience when they're coming to a Spiegel Tent event, but also those that are coming to UPAC events, as well as those from the public that are using it during community festivals, neighborhood meetings, community events that are, again, open to the public. And so that's kind of this approach where we're really working together with our private businesses to make this happen.
Yeah. And certainly any event that I hold, complete cleanup after, that we can negotiate what the space, how the actual space is maintained as a public space.
So just clarify, it's $1 a year or $1 per person?
Dollar a month.
$1 a month?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the month.
Sorry, yes. Yeah. I think that is in what I gave.
Yep,
Steve.
that's,
You guys should have that.
that's in our lease here.
What about, would there be food served underneath there? I'm just wondering how it would impact the food eateries around it, if you're drawing away from them, or do you augment them?
If it's a private party, they would be allowed to bring in their own caterer. It could be one of the local restaurants could do the catering. I'm not setting up,
Okay.
I'm not setting up a bar or a restaurant,
Okay.
but the ability to come in and have events.
I mean, obviously, this is a great idea because it's gonna bring people in, it's good for the local community. Are we gonna, other than the $12 a year, is the city gonna realize any revenue from this? Or any revenue would be going towards you guys for the upkeep? How, do you have the
Yes.
specifics worked out at all?
The revenue comes to my business.
Okay.
For the events. What we have not, I think one of the details to work out is how is the public space used and cared for on a regular basis when there's not an event, yes.
Insurance purposes, who's liable?
I would have insurance for every event and anything that takes place inside the tent. I think the city would have a blanket insurance for the property.
Which we have already.
Yeah, so I would have liability insurance for every event. I mean, a standing one, not per event, a standing liability.
Where does the city get its insurance?
I'm sorry?
Isn't the city self-insured?
No,
No.
You use the New York Municipal Insurance?
Chubb is our,
You guys will be serving alcohol at some of these events as well? Would that be-
That's a question on whether individual caterers would bring in their own liquor license. For instance, if you have someone's having a wedding, their caterer would be bringing in. I do want to explore what other options would be necessary to make that fit with city regulations and make it easy for patrons.
Because currently on the code in our parks, you can't bring alcohol to the parks. So,
well, you just can't. You have to have a catered person with a liquor license. Like Keegan Ales will have an event at the Roundup Center, or
No.
the Hooli will
yeah,
happen.
it went through.
There went through no alcohol. in the
No
parks. They
alcohol
said
a
it
couple
was
years
zero.
ago.
No, just our police department doesn't issue $40 alcohol permits for those that want to use pavilions, etc. But for the city property, if someone wants to have alcohol on city property in general, they have to have a site license by the New York State Liquor Authority and provide us insurance coverage for those events.
Like an outdoor sidewalk cafe
Yes,
permit.
and so that's set, and we do it all the time, and we literally have dozens upon dozens of alcohol-related events on city property in a given year and have for years.
I know it's been for years, but it came up a couple of years ago that no alcohol was permitted in the parks, and it was an adamant conversation that took place at this table, and I didn't know that it changed any.
This is not a park, right?
No, but
This
it's
is
not a
dedicated
park, but if a park can't, can a common? That's my question.
And again, parks do with the
Well, then
appropriate.
that's illegally violating our code, because, I mean, Bill was here, Deb was here,
I was here,
Jim was here.
and I think also involved in that was municipal buildings also.
Right.
So it was
Because
not
that
only
has-
parks, it was anything that the
Right.
city.
We don't issue permits, but anyway. it's-
Yeah, I have a question. If the site is leased to a private business, does it fall into the parks definition? Clearly, you guys have other things to determine which way that goes. I'm just curious if the lease is with my company, does that change the situation? Just a question.
Approximately how many events would you see having, and when would be the window, the one where it open, what months you plan on operating?
This year will depend on when we get all the details worked out. I was just discussing with Ray that I have an event out in San Francisco in
And it was always insurance.
August, so it's going to depend on how quickly we get this worked out, whether I get in before or after that. Ideally, I see that space being used March through the holidays. It would be dark, January, February, March, give or take. And then as the weather turned, people are coming back outside, get them back out. I mean, the space obviously in front is always going to be public. Would take it down for the winter. One of the things we will have to work out is generally a temporary structure is defined as 180 days or less. I think the time frame that would be most useful is more like 7 or 8 months. But that's a detail that can be worked out. You know, if I take the top off and put it back on, technically that restarts it. By most building code, I'm not assuming Kingston building code, I'm just saying there's ways we can deal with that.
So where would you store this then? On that property? Or you have to store it someplace?
It's stored elsewhere until,
Okay.
it wouldn't be stored on the property.
Okay.
Yeah, it would just be set up on the property, yes.
Facilities, so portable
Yeah, it'd be portable.
restrooms would have to be brought in
Yeah,
and kept there
for the when the
duration
tent is
of
set,
the
yes.
180 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And whose expense is that, yours?
Yes, yeah. And any expense incurred with the event, which would include the tent, the restroom trailers, power. One of the questions I have is what power is actually on the site in the ground as opposed to what's on the post in the back. I mean, I can start with what's on the post in the back and pay for that, but I'll need to know for long term. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm presuming any event, function you're gonna do is gonna be, have to go through somebody with the city, right? To get final approval? I mean, we're gonna sign off on events, or it's just?
No,
up to
the
them?
goal would be to, this entity and we would lease our city property to this entity to hold events at their, pleasure. They'd have to notify us when events were happening so that the public space in front that would normally be open to the residents, would be closed during that wedding, that event, that multi-use timeframe. And so this is very simple. This is exactly how it was in 2013 when the city and the former mayor signed on to Spiegelton. We are just trying to make the public piece of this be more clearly defined, and we wanted to come tonight to be able to just really introduce this concept. And what's unique about our experience this time is we're working with the Arts District, and we really want to be able to bring public art and the public that has organized around our arts into a physical place in Midtown. And this, we believe Broadway Commons will be a defining fixture, but we have to get started somewhere. And so our first start was tonight to update all of you on our plans, because we didn't want to do this in a vacuum and just come and hand this to you all and say, this is our lease, this is what we're doing, and
Is there an
accept
opportunity
it.
for public, wouldn't it make more sense for the city to benefit somehow economically, like maybe get a percentage of the ticket sales? I mean, I don't see how $12 in exchange for what? I mean, I get the drive to Broadway, I think that's fantastic, I think that's great, I think it's really, really wonderful. But what about the revenue to the city? I mean, why not incorporate a structure where the city can get a percentage of the ticket sales? I mean, you're gonna hold events, make a profit, and what benefit does the city get in return? I'm just trying to wrap my head around how $12 justifies the use of public resource. I mean, because if you look at a private business that wants to conduct business, they pay rent at a market rate. So I'm not sure exactly how $12 is, where's the trade-off?
The trade-off is it's currently unusable or unused space, so it is my investment to turn it into.
And is the police department going to be required to provide security for these events if something were to happen?
Well, if something, like if there's a crime, then yes.
Right,
If there is if I'm holding an event of 150 people and there's a dance party and we feel that that requires private security, I would.
Dance party, alcohol, it's a recipe for probably problems, but I'm not trying to criticize and give you a hard time. I'm just really trying to understand how $12 really provides economic vitality to a city that is struggling financially. You know, we can give away everything we want and we can let you make all the money, but what about the return on the investment? I mean, I'm just trying to understand the math here.
The math is strictly in my favor. I was approached by the Arts Council to enhance that site. My first attempt at this with the city, to go back to your question, I did have to get, even though my original agreement was not this way, I did have to get approval for events. I scheduled an event with a not-for-profit that was canceled. So I just want to go back clearly to that I'm not looking for approval. That's why I'm looking for a lease, so that I can schedule events. We'll share the calendar with the city.
I've got to go back to two things.
Sure.
Utilities, you said you're just going to plug in someplace. Okay, how would we separate your electricity use as opposed to the city's? And also, what about water? You bring bottled water in? Because obviously, if there's running water, there's a water charge.
And rest facilities.
Right.
Well, I bring the restroom. There's no running water on the site.
Okay, that's all I know.
So
Okay.
there would be no water charge. I bring in restroom trailers
Electricity.
with water tanks.
But the electricity, I mean, I just signed a whole bunch of Central Hudson bills. They mount up after a while. And I just want to know, how would we separate the utilities from our normal municipal buildings?
There is a meter on the post that has a 200 amp service. So my proposal would be that I pay the Central Hudson bill for the usage of that.
So how would we determine?
And that was done in 2013. We just passed the cost on.
I know, but I'm just asking.
I don't know how to do that.
What's that?
I'm just saying meter.
Yeah, but whose meter, does it go into our general bill or separate bill for him?
Separate bill,
Separate bill.
whoever calls Central Hudson to get it activated, they
Okay.
put their name in.
Okay, that's, I just want to be sure it wasn't kicking into our.
No, as long as they have the separate meter. then.
Okay.
Do you have any sense of, given how many people would come to this, what that might mean for other businesses in the area, how much business it is? Because that would answer to some degree the question of how the city benefits.
Sure.
If other businesses are seeing a rise in their revenue, that would be an indirect way of paying the city.
Sure, I can only speculate based on the last time we were out there, that if we were that I would estimate a couple events every weekend and maybe one event during the week. So it's putting life on that site 3 or 4 times a week. That's where I'm starting.
Can I add just a little bit to that? As far as that question is concerned, the whole concept of the arts district that we're pushing is an economic development concept. That really is what it's about. It's about doing something with Midtown that will make it a desirable location for activities to occur, for businesses to come in and thrive, and for the whole arts community to start, focusing in one area that right now is economically needing assistance. And the Art Square is in a way, it's a highly symbolic representation of that objective by bringing people to a place that normally they wouldn't go to. It becomes a destination. And let me just mention that as we develop this concept of the district, in which we'll be coming back to the council for many times, we have looked at how this concept has transformed cities across the country. We looked at 30 or 40 different arts districts that have been developed in very similar circumstances, and almost without exception, it has had tremendous economic benefit to the cities where these districts occur. So
Okay, so the second reason that it sounds like you're saying, the second way that it would benefit the city would be as a form of advertising. So it would be bringing people into Midtown, they'll be able to see that this is actually a vibrant place for the arts.
Exactly.
And create kind of seed.
It becomes a
to bring other
destination.
businesses in.
Finally, it becomes a destination, and that will probably, almost certainly, if the model of these districts across the country is worth, pointing to, it will tremendously enhance the economic vitality and activity and vitality of Midtown. This is a quick start to get it going, get the concept going, get the idea going, in a way that doesn't take a huge amount of investment. And I think for somebody like Bob to be willing to risk coming into a situation which is not yet vibrant, I think deserves, some economic assistance in the form of a minimal, charge for a site which is otherwise useless and in fact detrimental to the city.
I have two questions.
Sure.
Dave, tell me first.
I was actually
okay.
before.
All right.
Thank you, it's okay. Now, who's acquiring the advertising cost that Rennie was just speaking about? Is anybody advertising outside of Kingston? Is there a cost share to that, or?
Well, I would advertise the space. I don't know how the city's gonna advertise the Art Square, the Broadway.
Okay. And my second question was, is there ample parking for events there? Because I know parking is used for UPAC when it's not in use of an event, but for an event that's going to bring 150 to 200 people, where would the parking be?
There's parking in the back, and then there's parking across the street. I mean, I would treat it just like UPAC. There's parking in the area. I'm not expecting parking in front of the...
No, 150 cars.
Yeah.
But-
And I'm really, this is really a community issue for me, so I would imagine we will get, if 100 people show up, I'm hoping a good portion of those are within walking distance. I'm of the mind that there's plenty of parking in Kingston if you have to walk a couple extra blocks, so.
Well, we're gonna be removing the parking on Broadway, like Lane, so.
You're not losing any parking on Broadway for a lane.
Oh, no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about parking, and I'm not concerned about losing patrons if I don't have enough parking. Thank you, that's not my.
My question is there some way, language that you can put, and we were talking about economic, not development, but businesses. Is it some way we can put in the language where, those businesses that catering or something like that these functions you had, something that they can go to them first and
Absolutely,
and use those businesses around there and give them an opportunity, obviously, is there some kind of form of language like that where, if you're holding an event for yourself in the arts district, that they would utilize those businesses around there in Midtown and let them get first crack at catering it,
Sure, of course. I mean, that could be part of the package that I send out. Is these are the preferred caterers.
Caterers, in locations for flowers, which is right next door to that space.
Yes. We did, when I was on the site a couple years ago, it was used as a location shoot, and they ended up using it as a holding place for talent, and they brought the food in from across the street. So, I mean, yes, that is.
You could put that kind of language in there, that would help out, some of the questions there, how's the Kingston benefiting? The local business would be benefiting, Kingston would be benefiting as a whole as we're bringing, new people into Midtown. The art district would benefit because now it's gonna be vibrant.
Yeah, sure.
So it would be a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, so we can put that kind of language in there for catering or, businesses, that'd be great.
Now, I see here, we're talking about the phase 1 in 2016, and then phase 2, 2017. So is that the length of the lease? we talking about a lease here? What do we?
So the concept with Bob is that we would enter into a lease for the Spiegel tent space. However, Ray and I and the Arts Committee, we see that this project is going to take, a while to develop. There's certain things that we can do in 2016 to prepare the site, to get the site ready to have a Spiegel tent event space. But we also have a lot of ideas and a vision for what the public space on the site could look like, and how pedestrians would move around the site, and how the site would have appropriate lighting, and so all of that will happen over time. And so we just wanted to clarify with all of you that we don't expect to kind of snap our fingers and have a world-class destination in Midtown. It's just what we want to be able to do is do it over time when we have the resources. And as part of our CFA funding application, we've already spoken about, there's a $50,000 grant for arts, which we may go after for the Arts District. Broadway Commons may fit into that piece, to be able to have that public square where we can have art shows, we can have sculpture, we can have an opportunity to have a space that's been developed and funded. So we want to be able to prepare for that, and the first step is really working with an individual who wants to work on the site. We've often looked for people that want to invest on that site, and we haven't been successful. And here we've been approached by someone that has an opportunity to bring life back to that site again, and that's why we wanted to just come and update all of you. And again, we'll be working on the lease language. We'll be working closely with all of the partners involved, and we'll come back with a lease that hopefully you all will be able to approve, to get something started in 2016.
How does the city just maintain the space, put a tent up and host events and make more money? I mean, essentially what we're allowing is for, with all due respect, I think it's a fantastic idea, but we're allowing you to rent it for $12 a year, in which you'll probably in turn bring in concerts and venues and just essentially do what the city could do, right? Except the city can make more money from it, right? You're just essentially bringing in business to charge a fee, make a cut, and the city gets zero. So why doesn't the city just put a tent up, and then the city is already assuming liability, because if somebody gets hurt, some city's gonna be liable, like you said. I don't understand how.
I carry my own liability for the event, but listen, if the city wants to.
I'm not trying to knock it, I think it's a fantastic idea, I'm just trying to understand, why can't the taxpayer be a shareholder in your business? Right, because what are we giving you, the city's giving you, okay, there's a cost to that, what's the cost benefit? What is it truly?
That's for the finance.
I would guess, call me crazy, I think it's more than $12. But that's my guess. I'm just really trying to advocate for the fact that we can't give the city away for trying to grow economically and financially. It doesn't make sense.
No, that's my proposal to the finance committee. If you guys want to go a different direction, I'm happy to pull the proposal.
There's lots of unanswered questions that we'll deal with as they come up.
Yeah, sure.
I think the intent is something that's very interesting, it's very exciting, particularly, and you might even be able to get something in this year.
Yeah, and I do want this to go through channels and make it work for everybody.
Might be a problem, but I would love to have a problem to deal with 200 cars who are busy here, that's a nice problem to have.
Yeah.
So, okay, any others? Thank you, Ray. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. Just on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, are you planning to be here for the sales tax discussion?
I do, and I have one of the engineering ones also.
Pardon me?
I have sales tax, and I also have one of the engineering topics, which is actually mine to talk about tonight.
Okay, so we'll keep the same schedule?
Whatever you guys would like.
Okay, I just want to be mindful of your time.
Yep.
Okay.
Number 9, or the mayor's items, you want to move those up?
You might want to 9 and,
You want to move them forward.
okay.
You got Troy?
Why don't we do this? Yeah, why don't we move to number 9, which is the funding for the part-time capital project assistance, and then the communication regarding sales tax agreement. Is that okay with you, Ron? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just start briefly with
So we'll move to item 9.
So item number 9 is a communication that I sent to all of you requesting a little over $12,000 to be able to create part-time capital projects, assistant administrator, to be able to assist in our engineering department. As all of you have seen time and time again, our city has a lot of projects. We have a lot of capital projects. As of most recent count, we currently have $25 million in active capital projects that a department of 2 is currently attempting to manage. And you know, my interest in this would be able to create a part-time position that would assist Ralph with our city's capital projects. It would range from everywhere from following up on contracts, making sure that every I is dotted, every T is crossed, making sure every change order is accounted for, making sure that when our contractors submit invoices, those invoices match with the contracts, making sure that as our capital projects are developed, you know, simple fact sheets are able to be provided to all of you so that you understand the type of project it is, and the community knows what we're spending our money on and how it's being spent. They would work on making sure that we had timely updates on where our projects are and what the status of our projects, and helping to be able to work closely with the comptroller's office and making sure that all of our bonding and our funds that are coming out of grants are you know, looked out for, and making sure that they're managed as effectively as possible. Right now, Ralph and some of Alan's time is spent doing that. And as an engineer, Ralph's time really could be spent doing a lot more engineering work. And this person will really help relieve that pressure. And again, at a part-time salary, and for the remaining part of this year, would again only cost us about $12,000, and would work 17 and a half hours a week. And this position, I think, as forecasted, would say start July 1, so for 6 months. And so my request is to ask for that money to be taken out of contingency for us to be able to create that part-time position. Again, with part-time positions, there's no benefits paid out, and so our costs for this are relatively low, but I believe that what we'll get at the end is really valuable for all of you and all of us to be able to make sure that we're making the best decisions we can and following up on how we're spending our money and making sure that it's done wisely. So that is my request to all of you, and I hope you will consider that this evening.
Yeah.
Ralph, you're in engineering department. Have you looked into some colleges that were looking for an intern program that wouldn't be part of, they would get contingent, they would get credits rather than getting a salary from us?
We have had interns in the past. I mean, Sue has had interns in the past, and they're through BAR, but those are grants somehow. I mean, I haven't been in contact with BAR. I don't know, but these are not necessarily projects. They are, you know, it's administrating city monies, and.
So are you looking for...
I think you need to have an employee administering city money and not a volunteer.
So this is a clerical position, basically?
It would be administrative
Clerk. Clerk?
I wouldn't say clerk. I mean, the way that we've, Jackie and I have written the job description, it is, you know, some of the duties are clerk related, but this would be also somewhat of an administrative management of these capital projects. Not necessarily out there in the field doing the project, not necessarily just filing information about the project. It's that in between. It's the person that's making sure that these projects are happening internally, making sure that all of our paperwork is in line, making sure that our grant contacts are getting the information that they need, making sure all of you are getting the up-to-date information that we need in terms of the actual dollars and cents. So that's something more than a clerk.
I have one other question. I thought we had Kristen to do that for the grant.
Kristen's our grant manager.
So she can't tie into this a little bit?
Well, most of the projects that, our engineering department they're not necessarily grant funded. Some are, some are.
Big ones are.
Yeah, some are. And again, Kristen is managing some of those with our Broadway projects and all of that.
Okay.
However, when you get to the point of, if a change order is needed and you actually need someone that understands what a change order is, and you really need someone that understands engineering, and has a background in managing capital projects, which, is not as simple as just, sending off a document back to a grant agency. Like, you need to know what you're doing when you're looking at these big scale capital projects. And oftentimes, much of what Ralph gets funded is bonded from all of you, many of our projects.
And it's a little bit different from what Kristen does. She's looking for grants and going to manage some, but this is kind of like on a smaller scale, to do the nitty gritty of these, some of the paperwork parts of these projects. It's not.
Who's doing that now, Ralph? Who does all that nitty gritty? You?
Me and Alan.
And Alan.
All right.
But it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and sometimes I get a little wound up because of the pressure of trying to get payments done on time, trying to get all the the account numbers exactly right and all the attachments that are required for the review, and pretty soon we'll be submitting reimbursement requests to EDA. I mean, I'll have to start that paperwork, but I mean, there'll be more of that with any grant. There's nitty-gritty stuff that you do along the way.
Thanks.
So,
Hey, Doug, Nina's had her hand up for quite a while.
Who has?
Nina.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
It's all right, I can wait till Mary Ann's.
Okay, Mary Ann, then Nina, sorry.
Oh,
You're stuck with it, I didn't see it.
it's not there.
so with this position, and that frees up your time, do we do less studies and actually do more engineering work ourselves then, or?
We could, well, like right now, one project that is on my list to do is some work down at the Roundabout Rec Center. And I kind of got a little bit of a start on it, but that has to wait till I have time sufficient to do that. Right now, I've advertised for 2 RFPs. I'm waiting to advertise for another proposal. We were evaluating engineering proposals today, but this will come up later, the engineering planning grant, we received half a dozen proposals. All those proposals have to be reviewed. We have a committee, including me, Alan, Brian Waltman, Kristen's helped us this time, and the guys down at the treatment plant. But that, when you're looking through half a dozen proposals, I mean, you're going to spend 8 to 10 hours reviewing them, just reading through them and trying to evaluate them. And then we got together today, we spent 2 hours together to go through them again and for me to put them into, to compile them so that then we could rank them as a committee. And then I notified the 2 finalists, and we will have an interview. Well, that's more time. These are the kind of things that you don't really hear about, or maybe you don't think about, but there's a lot of time. You asked me to go out for an RFP. There's a lot of time invested in it. There's 12 hours of my time plus actually putting it together and advertising it. And so, and then administering it afterwards. So there's a lot of time invested there for everything.
Nina?
The mayor mentioned that this position, if passed, would start July till the end of the year, and it would be 12,000 from this point forward. Does that mean that it will be 24,000 next year, will be the salary of this position? And at 24,000, is that considered part-time or benefits? And will benefits be included next year, and where will that come from in the future? Sorry, there's 800 questions. So, 24,
Can you
12,
address the grade level 15 with that too, because it all ties together?
So it's just, it's a part-time position, so there's no benefits, it's just 17 and a half hours a week. So yeah, so half the year is the 12,003, and so double that would be a year. And again, John, I mean, there's no really other additional expenses if it's a full year compared to just 6 months, but it still would be the part-time 17 and a half hours, no benefits position.
I have roughly 27.6 for full-time, or for a full year part-time.
Okay.
For the salary portion, plus the Social Security. If I can just make a comment, since I've been here, the volume of capital projects in the engineering department has probably doubled, both in the number of projects and the dollar amount. And that department is still handling those projects with the same number of staff. Actually, they're down from when I started, because I recall when I started, engineering did have a clerk. Was it a clerk title or?
Marianne, I don't know what her title.
But she was effectively a clerk, and that position's gone. The quantity, as I mentioned, and the dollar volume has exponentially increased. It's created a lot of paperwork and pressure on not only the engineering department, also on my department. So this position would not only help engineering, it would help our department and the flow of vouchers, getting vendors paid prompter. I think it would help, move some engineering projects along as well. I see it a win-win for the city. I mean, this is, so we look at the operating budget every day, and we look at these bills that come up through here, and the council approves the capital projects vouchers, but those bills that pass through that we handle internally are huge dollar amounts.
Yeah.
And to have an extra set of eyes and someone to help facilitate getting those through, I think is money well spent. It's
Ralph, will this mean you'll be able to be in the field more, like with the cameraing this and
Suit up.
things like that?
Possibly.
Possibly, right? But not definitely?
Well, I mean, that depends on, like I told you, I have that project down at the Rondout Center.
Mm-hmm.
We have another RFP to evaluate, we have one to advertise and then evaluate. Depends on, what's happening, but potentially, yes. I mean, part of the engineering planning grant, we anticipate going out with the sewer camera to support whoever the consultant is. So we will be out for that RFP ourselves.
I mean, just in an emergency, I know there's a lot of times where there might be a project going on and all of a sudden they run into a problem, they need somebody.
If DPW calls and they need something, we're there either that day or the next day. And then, we just set it aside and we go out and do it. It's an emergency.
If I've done the math right, this comes out to about $27 an hour, something like that. If this is a 6-month appointment, 26 weeks, 17 and a half hours. Is that right?
That's the first. The full-time position coming next year. Wait to see.
Which
Not
ties into
full-time
grade
position.
level 15. How is a grade 15 determined with that?
I'm just asking, is that correct?
I haven't done the math on the hourly, but I can give you an annual of 27.5.
Does that fit right? Is that within the grade?
35 hours a week?
$26,000 a year job.
I'm doing the math now.
17, yeah.
Trying
Sounds about right. You said.
Yeah, would you say 20?
Yeah, 27, 20 something.
Yeah, it's probably closer to 30.
An hour?
Right.
Can I maybe have a solution?
Mm-hmm.
Nina made a very good point. You got to multiply it. we have 2 people leaving the rec department, they're going on retirement. Why don't we not hire one less and use that money towards that?
I'm pretty sure you want a rec leader to do your adult softball leagues.
No,
And
I'm
you
saying-
also want a maintenance coordinator to,
No, I'm
do your
saying,
maintenance.
we got 2 people are leaving, we only got X amount of money, why don't we just hire one less and then give that to the,
Which one of those 2 positions don't you want to have in the department?
Well,
A
everybody's
maintenance
got-
supervisor or a?
well, I'm just looking for a solution. I mean, we got money coming out, and nothing coming in, and I'm getting a little nervous. And here's a chance 2 people are retiring. Somebody might have to take a cut to help out another department. I'm just bringing it out.
This is one department where there is money coming in though, and we just want to make sure that, you know,
Right,
we
but-
can continue to have money coming in and projects going out. And, you know, at some point, we are going to hit a bottleneck, and I think that that's my job as on the executive branch is to just let you know that I believe that this department needs help.
I'm not
If you
saying-
guys are choosing to not
No,
help, I just want to let you know.
I didn't say that. I said
Okay.
he needs the help. I know it because I've been down in his office.
Right.
But I'm saying trying to find money to go forward to hire somebody with benefits. I'm trying to find a source, and I just noticed 2 people are retiring from the park and recs. In the past, a lot of departments have had to make cuts. They have to do with less. And I'm thinking, maybe he needs it more than park and rec because it sounds like he's overwhelmed and there's a lot more money coming in that way. So I'm just making a suggestion out there. This is where we're on the finance, so.
Steve?
Yeah. Now, Ralph has said there's a possibility that him being freed up might eliminate some consultant fees, something like that. Now, I don't think we've paid one consultant this year less than that salary position. I mean, everything is more than that. If we can eliminate even one consultant fee because of this, we'll make our money back just on that. So, you know, I know it's a little gamble because you can't say that's going to eliminate a consultant, but.
Yeah, we have to confine ourselves to smaller projects, but we do. We're doing a DPW community development project. Alan's got that pretty much taken care of for sidewalks and curbs on Schreiber Court. There's going to be some paving over there. You know, that project over on Rondout Center, we're also going to put some accessibility ramps in sprinkled around the city that Mike has requested, and some curbing on Greenkill Avenue then. So we do quite a few. Last year we did Adams Street. The year before we did Adams Street. Later on we're going to talk about West Pierpont Street.
Oh, yes, we are.
But so we do, what we can. But if there's a smaller project, once you get into a project that's more than a couple $100,000, then you're talking about having, surveyors on the job and requiring a survey, which, we can't do. We would have to go out and hire that, but, some of the things it's just better left. The larger projects are better left to, people that are able to do that in a timely fashion, because if we do a large project, something comes up and we're off doing something else because of an emergency or some other need, then that project sits, and if it's a large project, you don't want that back.
I have 2 questions. Can somebody explain why this was a grade 15? Because I've asked that a few times. So a grade 15 was determined based on?
It gets determined based on what the skill level and qualifications of the person would be in consultation with the union.
And I'm sorry.
With the consultation with the union.
Okay, so it's a grade 15, and then does it start with a tier or a level within that as well?
Again, that's up to, us to decide at some point, once we get to that point, but so far we haven't gotten to that point yet. We need to have funding allocated to be able to move to the next step.
So you can't put that in until this is approved?
Well, yeah, we can't hire someone and go through the process of advertising a position at a specific grade or salary range until we have funding available.
No, I understand that it's set at a grade 15, but then the tier, you're saying can't be determined until the person is hired?
I didn't say that. I just said that as of now.
Or the level? You said, okay. Explain to me again, because I must have misunderstood you.
I am looking right now to hire a part-time employee at grade 15 at the salary that I indicated in the letter. And so that's all I need right now.
Okay, but then when does, my next question of the level or the tier come into play?
We then work with the union to be able to negotiate, you know, what the tier is, which I just said was grade 15. And then based on those negotiations, we go out to hire someone, and we then hire them.
But there's more, it's not just a grade 15, there's another piece to the puzzle.
And what piece would that be, Mary Ann?
That's what I'm asking.
I don't know what piece you're referring to.
Because it's a grade 15, you're gonna advertise it that way.
Yeah.
Is a grade a tier?
I don't know what you mean. Like,
Tier 1,
Tier 2, Tier 3?
I think we're all on tier 5 now, aren't we, all the new hires?
for the retirement system? Yeah, I think, I don't know, tier 5 or tier 6.
Tier 6.
Tier 6. So,
Okay.
I mean, everybody comes in at tier 6.
Okay, that was my question.
Oh,
That's why I said the tier or the level.
yeah, I knew you were saying something he wasn't
Okay.
understanding.
And then my second question was, I'm gonna stem off of what Jim said. Years ago, we bought this camera, so it didn't have to be rented, it's city-owned. And as being part of the infrastructure committee a few years ago, I feel that it's the need, and it's important that it's proactive. And if this is gonna free up space, then a schedule needs to be made to go out, and not on an emergency basis, look at what our infrastructure is, but let's look proactively, so we know down the road that we can do more with your capital plan that you need, because it's an item we've purchased, and it sits idle until it's needed for an emergency. It needs to be scheduled, you know, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly. We have to get out there and look at what's underneath our ground of our crumbling infrastructure. Just a point of view.
John?
I just want to make a quick correction. We talked about it being this 7 months, or 6 months, it's 7 months. The actual hourly rate, Doug, is $21.52.
Not very.
Right, and the annual salary, if we annualized it on a part-time basis, would be $19,707. So it's
Not 27.
not 27, it's
Oh, that's,
19,707.
this is a
Right.
7-month.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is 7
I
months.
did it on the basis
Right,
of
so
6.
it's- Right, so it's 19, it's
Okay.
just under $20,000 a year for a part-time employee.
Plus Social Security.
Plus Social Security.
Yeah.
Yeah, so add 7.65% onto that, it's
Mhm.
$22,000 a year.
Okay, ready?
I'm just wondering, what likelihood do you think there's of finding somebody at this rate of pay to do this work? Is there like a pool of people in Kingston just waiting for this job, or?
I don't know, I mean, our hope is that, you know, we have a lot of people that are either retired or, you know, looking for a part-time work where they've had experience either as an engineer or a consultant for an engineering firm. We actually have a lot of, I think, talented workforce in Kingston that are still looking for something to do but can't commit and don't want to commit to full-time and aren't looking for benefits, aren't looking to, you know, go over that $30,000 pension mark for people that are former public employees. So it gives, I think there is a relatively good pool of candidates that would be interested. I know that when this first hit the paper, even though we hadn't even come to you yet, when we mentioned it during our press conference, I think Jackie DeSico got 3 or 4 calls of people asking to apply for the position, and she had to inform that we didn't even have the funding yet. But you know, people just read something in the paper and they are interested. So I think that's a good sign that there is interest out there.
And do you think it's likely that somebody would be from Kingston so that the salary would be recirculated right here in town?
My goal is to try to get as many people hired locally as possible.
I mean, like John, I'm impressed, or maybe depressed, with the number of engineering projects you have and the manpower that you have handling it, so.
They're buried.
It's a huge amount of work, and I tend to think that you need some help. Is there a motion to be made?
I just wanted to say.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rand.
I like your idea of thinking about, you know, we've got 2 people retiring. I think we should investigate that, but I'm not sure it's a great idea to tie it directly to this particular position.
No, but I just was
So, sure.
throwing it out there. We have attrition and we have new people.
I guess
around.
it's
Let's not forget about that. That's-
If we approve it, I think it's up to them to manage it. You know, if there's a big, you know, if they could pull from someplace else, I'm sure they'll look at it.
Why not? I was looking at for pulling, we're losing 2 people to retirement. Maybe we don't need to fill those positions and do that instead. So that was one of the ideas, and then also, like you mentioned, within our own things. But Ralph definitely needs it. I've been down there, he's buried. The paper's just like, and he's constantly busy, and I know that, so.
It seems to be getting busier.
Yes, well, with their aging infrastructure, it's just it's almost like a full-time aging infrastructure department,
Yeah.
you know, rather than just small little projects.
Like I said, if this can free him up to, as Mary Ann was saying, to be proactive in regard to our infrastructure, it's a good investment.
Does anyone care to make a motion on this?
I move that we accept the proposal.
So you're not doing it.
We have to put any more in there?
Yeah, I think we do.
That we hire a part-time position in the engineering
Could
department?
I just say, accept the proposal as outlined in the mayor's letter of May 2nd, and we'll give some specifics on where the funding comes from.
No, that's fine, but we have to do the budget transfer part of that.
Right.
Right, putting the money in the line gives the mayor the authority to make the hire.
Does he
He doesn't
have
need
to
to-
verbiage all that in there?
No, he doesn't need express authority from the council to make the hire, he just, as long as those monies are in there, I believe he has authority to make the hire. But if you want to word it that you accept the proposal as worded, and as such, recommend the following budget transfer, I can give you the accounts.
Right here.
Yeah. Yeah, the accounts are listed, and then we just have to come up with them.
We actually got 4. We actually have 4 people. But it's not, it's 2 from the back and 2 from.
So what do we?
They're going to their job, I was in charge of what they were doing. Two hours in.
I'll make copies if they want it.
Questions.
What do I have to say about the funding? Or just reference?
Reference, I would just list the accounting.
Okay. What I have is accept the proposal per the mayor's letter of May 2nd, 2016 regarding hiring of a part-time capital project assistant from June 1st to December 31st, 2016.
If you want, I'll write any numbers on it.
Clearly there's something. So if you email it to me,
Okay.
Short, should we get to that?
For the engineering department, is there a second to this motion? Motion by Rennie, Scott Childers, seconded by Steve Chavez. Accept proposal of mayor's letter to President Noble, as he writes a lot of letters, on May 2nd, 2016, regarding hire of a part-time capital project assistant to the engineering department, June 1st through December 31st, 2016. The following budgetary transfers also requested for the proposal. I won't read all the numbers. Okay? That got it?
That's exactly what I was.
You could have said it better yourself.